Days like this, the veil is thin, and everything we've buried comes back, not to haunt us, but to be acknowledged. I love autumn. There's a clarity in the light right now, not bright, but honest. You can feel the harvest folding in on oneself. The fields pull their edges inwards. Sunflowers, once tall and brazen, bow as if in quiet thanks. Pumpkins sit like small patient moons in the fields. Even the ferns ease into brown, not dead, just resting. And the mushrooms, once fragile, suddenly decompose, feel like small signals from the earth, the season's punctuation marks. There's a particular stillness to this time. It's not empty, it's full of sediment. The world is collecting itself, a slow pocketing of light and memory. The distances between matter collapse. Sounds come closer, silences have a texture of death, flatlined until balanced. When I come back to the studio after time in the woods, I carry that calm with me. It sits behind my ribs like a note waiting to be plucked. I set up the palette. The air smells of Palo Santo and patchouli I've chosen. Something layered that feels like comfort, a subtle frequency of love that holds the room. There's relief in the intimacy, stretching the canvas, squeezing colour, the soft clacks of lids, a small form of affirmation. All Hallows Eve has always felt like a threshold to me, not theatrical but intimate. There's a loosening at the edges of ordinary life. The seen and the unseen feel nearer to each other. When I paint on days like this, I feel less like a maker and more like a listener. The brush is my ear. I feel my grandma's warmth. In this very moment, I want the painting to be a conversation, not to mark an occasion, not to pursue a result, but to allow my body the space to evoke questions within itself it doesn't need to ask out loud. I mix color slowly, something cool to hold the warmth. Each mix is a kind of translation, memory into pigment, grief into hue, small joy into tone. Pigment is a language. The canvas is multidimensional, it is bilingual. I think of my ancestors not as spirits but as symphony, an assembly of voices that sit behind the workbench. Patient, particular, corrective. Sometimes I imagine them leaning in to see how I hold my colour, to remind me of a hand posture I've forgotten. There is no sermon in that presence, only company, a lineage of attention. I listen. Painting in autumn is different. The marks want to be slower. The light in the studio is lower, more forgiving. I'm not trying to catch the sun. I'm tracing what the sun leaves behind. There's a tenderness in letting a layer sit, in waiting for it to speak before I add the next stroke. That waiting feels like faith. Pressure dissolves in this kind of work. It's curious when I stop needing an outcome. The quality of the work changes. There's a cadence to process that pressure cannot buy. Production without performance is rare these days. So many systems demand an output that can be packaged, measured, monetized. But the work that matters, the work that returns, often looks like absence from view. It is the slow accretion of attention. I'm studying rhythms as much as color. Rhythm between breaths, between decisions, between erasures. Sometimes I paint for 40 minutes and then I stop for an hour. Sometimes I take the whole day and do nothing but watch the move of light across the carpet. All of these rhythms feed the same thing, the capacity to hold uncertainty without collapsing into certainty. There's a music here that's not just sound, it's arrangement, the way a pigment sits next to another, the way paint bleeds, leaves an echo. These are the occurrences that build meaning. The Palo Santo smoke dances and I move in time with it. The painting keeps opening like a conversation with an old friend that gets more honest as the day deepens. Sometimes a pattern in the smoke will find its color. Sometimes the color calls for silence. Today and every day I let my hands remember what the mind often forgets, to be soft with the marks, to allow things to misalign, to accept that some of the most beautiful, truthful parts of a painting arrive as accidents. Those accidents are not failures. They are the surfaces of intelligence revealing itself. When I pull a rag across wet color, it doesn't feel like erasure. It feels like negotiation. I am negotiating with what the piece wants to hold and what I am willing to release. There's humility in that. There is a small grief sometimes when something must be painted over, but there is also permission. To overwrite is to choose again. I think of ancestry like a practice of rewriting, stories rephased into forms, habits remade in softer renditions. The canvas is a place where this can happen in a miniature. If I'm honest, I paint to practice mercy, to the self I used to be and to the selves I am becoming. There is trust in the slow work, trust that what is true will return, trust that the small, consistent acts of showing up will compile into everything worth holding. That is a lesson of harvest. You gather what has ripened. You do not force the ripening. You learn the season. All Hallows Eve asks for that kind of learning. It asks for witness. It asks for attention without spectacle. It asks for presence. If the ancestors do speak tonight, I doubt their language would be dramatic. It would be practical. Remember the scene where you failed to show up for yourself. Remember the way you used to hold your hand. Remember to pass on gentleness. Remember the greatest gift of all is to love and be loved by yourself first. Today I paint for them and for myself. I paint to translate the beautiful silences of the fields into something I could carry into winter. I paint to turn the thinning light into vessel. I paint because the act of painting opens up a room where the living and the long-lived can convene.